I got my wife pregnant in high school. They came back the same way they left, without warning. A knock at the door, a rhythm too polite to be accidental, too insistent to be ignored. I had not heard that sound in 18 years, but the silence afterward was unmistakable. My parents always believed silence was a weapon. They wielded it well. I did not rush. I let the second knock bleed into the third. My son was upstairs, headphones on, lost in his own world. My wife, the woman who had stood beside me when the world crumbled, was in the kitchen, pretending to be calm. We had known this day might come. Still, the sound of that knock hollowed me out. When I opened the door, they stood there exactly as they had in memory, rigid, judgment carved into their faces, but something softer too. Age had pulled at their skin, but the eyes were the same. Those eyes had once told me I was a disgrace. Now they tried to look like they belonged here. "Let us see the child," my mother said. Her voice cracked as though softened by regret. I should have slammed the door. I should have laughed. Instead, I tilted my head, studying them the way one studies insects under glass. "The child?" I repeated, my voice low. "Yes," my father said firmly. "Your son, the boy you raised. We want to see him." I let the silence stretch until the air felt like stone between us. Then I whispered, calm and sharp enough to cut them where they stood, "What child?" Their faces faltered. My mother's lips parted. My father's shoulders stiffened. And then I added the line I had rehearsed for years, the line that would shatter them. "What are you?" 18 years ago, I was 17, stupid, and in love. Or maybe it wasn't love. Maybe it was just desperation dressed up in borrowed words. She told me she was pregnant. My parents told me I was finished. The night they found out, my father's voice thundered down the hallway. "Get out! You've disgraced us!" He didn't look at me, he looked through me, as if I had never been born. My mother cried, but her tears weren't for me. They were for the family name. So I left. A duffel bag, $42, and a girl who swore she loved me enough to endure exile. We promised each other survival. We promised we'd prove them wrong. The first year nearly broke me. Scraping together shifts, watching her belly grow, feeling the world sharpen its knives against us. And then, my son. His cry was the only sound that didn't feel like punishment. But there were cracks, subtle, hidden. She spent hours away, whispers on the phone when she thought I was asleep, a smile too wide when she mentioned a friend from work. I told myself I was paranoid. We were young, we were tired. Trust was a luxury we couldn't afford to question. Still, the thought crept in late at night. Was he mine? I buried it, because to ask the question was to destroy everything. Years moved the way years do, slow in suffering, fast in memory. My son grew into a man before my eyes, his laugh identical to mine, his silence a mirror of hers. He carried both of us inside him, or so I believed. But suspicion doesn't die, it festers. It was the way my wife avoided eye contact whenever I mentioned my parents, the way she spoke of loyalty like it was currency. The way my son's features seemed to shift as he aged, not like mine, but like someone else's, someone I couldn't name. One night while she slept beside me, I opened her phone. The passcode was our wedding anniversary. Too obvious, too easy. The messages were fragments, old, buried, but they were enough. Words like, "I miss you," and "he doesn't know." The name attached was one I recognized, from school, from shadows of a life I thought we'd escaped. I felt nothing, not rage, not sorrow, just a cold clarity. I needed proof. I bought a DNA test under the guise of a fun family kit. I packaged it as curiosity. She hesitated, but my son was excited, eager to know his roots. Weeks later, the results came back. I stared at the paper, numbers and percentages bleeding into meaning. He was not mine. 18 years. 18 years of sacrifice, labor, and love, built on a lie. I folded the paper, slipped it into a drawer, and said nothing. Not yet. The silence was mine now. It took me 3 days to decide what to do. 3 days of watching her cook, laugh, kiss me goodnight, as if she hadn't stolen nearly 2 decades of my life. On the 4th day, I placed the paper on the kitchen table. She walked in, humming softly, carrying a mug of coffee. She saw it, stopped, read, her face drained of color. I didn't move, didn't speak, just watched. Finally, she whispered, "You weren't supposed to find out." Not an apology, not denial, just the naked truth, stripped of pretense. My son walked in moments later, headphones around his neck, oblivious to the war unfolding in silence. He glanced at us, then at the paper. Confusion, concern. "Dad?" he asked. I placed a hand on his shoulder. My voice was steady, calculated. "Go upstairs." He obeyed. The room shrank to just us, her trembling, me composed. "You let me believe," I said quietly. "For 18 years." Her lips trembled. "I thought it was better this way." "You loved him. He loves you. Isn't that enough?" Enough. The word curdled in my chest. I stood, collected the paper, and left her there with her coffee turning cold. When my parents returned, knocking on the same door they had once slammed shut behind me, I understood the cruelty of time. They had abandoned me when I was most vulnerable, and now, in their twilight, they sought redemption. But redemption requires truth, and truth was the only weapon I had left. They asked for the child, the boy I had raised, the boy I had sacrificed everything for. They wanted to see the fruit of their rejected son's labor, to stitch themselves back into a family they had destroyed. I let them stand there, expecting forgiveness, expecting access. Instead, I gave them the truth I had bled for. "What child?" I asked again, sharper this time. My mother's face collapsed. My father's jaw tightened. I stepped aside, letting the silence gnaw at them. Behind me, my son's footsteps echoed down the stairs. He appeared at the landing, confusion clouding his eyes. "This is him?" my mother whispered, hope flickering. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "This is someone's son, but not mine." The words cracked like ice. My wife appeared behind him, pale, trembling, knowing what was coming. I turned to her, my voice steady. "Tell them." Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. "He's not his father's child." Gasps. Silence. My parents staggered back, as though struck. My son looked at me, betrayal layered on betrayal. "Dad?" I held his gaze, unflinching. "I raised you. But blood doesn't lie." And then I closed the door. The house was silent after that. My wife wept in the bedroom. My son locked himself away, grappling with truths no teenager should bear. My parents stood outside for a long time, knocking, pleading, but I didn't answer. Eventually, their footsteps faded into nothing. For 18 years, I had lived under their shadow, desperate to prove them wrong. But I realized now, they had been right about one thing. My life had been built on disgrace. Only, the disgrace wasn't mine. It was hers. It was theirs. I walked through the house, touching the walls I had painted, the furniture I had built, the memories I had tried to make real. It all felt hollow now. I wasn't angry. Anger is heat, and heat fades. What I felt was colder, permanent. I was free. Not because I had forgiven them, not because I had found peace, but because the lie was dead. And with it, the boy I once was. The boy begging for love, for approval, for belonging. He was gone. All that remained was me. And when I whispered the final words into the silence of that house, they were not for my wife, not for my parents, not even for my son. They were for myself. I owe you nothing.